Ellen has been facing a lot of heat recently, with people coming forward with stories saying that she isn't as kind as she appears to be. Even some fellow celebrities have tried to warn us about her other side, and I have 10 of them for you today on Beyond the Screen. Kicking off our countdown at number 10 is Mariah Carey. The two ladies have had a friendship for many years, but there was a moment in their friendship where Ellen's humor proved to go too far. The big debate with comedians is, are their jokes funny or are they actually mean? Mariah believes that this one was a bit mean, but she did handle it well despite the fact. What happened was she went on Ellen's show to do an interview, and Ellen brought up the rumors that were going around at the time that Mariah might be pregnant. Right away, Mariah says, "Let's not talk about that." But then Ellen takes out 2 glasses of champagne and tries to force her to drink it to prove that she's not pregnant. Mariah is hesitant, and it might be because she was in her early stages of pregnancy at the time, and oftentimes females don't want to reveal it because in the first trimester, miscarriages are common. Sadly, Mariah did have a miscarriage and revealed the news later down the road. I personally watched this video and I did not find it funny. I feel like forcing someone to drink alcohol to prove if they're pregnant or not, like, I get the joke, but probably not a good one, Ellen. Up next, number 9 is Dakota Johnson. Back in 2019, the actress sparked a fire on the internet after she went on the Ellen show for an interview. The two of them have had this ongoing debate on whether or not Ellen has been invited to Dakota's birthday parties. In 2018, Dakota admits that she didn't invite Ellen because she didn't know that she would want to be invited. So she invited Ellen in 2019, but Ellen didn't show up and gave no explanation. But when Dakota went on her show, Ellen called her out and said that she didn't invite her to her birthday party again. The tension was super awkward to watch, I'm not gonna lie. And Dakota says, "Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. Ask everybody. Ask Jonathan, your producer." Ellen's producer live ends up confirming that she was invited and didn't go. You can tell that Dakota was not taking Ellen's this time and was making sure that everyone knew that she was invited. Not sure why Ellen was trying to make it look like she wasn't, but the whole thing was super, super awkward. Like, I wish they could have just removed that whole part from the interview. Swiping the number 8 spot is Mark Ruffalo. You're probably wondering what the hell kind of beef he has with Ellen. It all just seems very random, not gonna lie, and it kind of is. Remember when the world went to a frenzy because Ellen was sitting with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game? She received a ton of hate for it, but did a monologue on her show where she said that they are friends despite their different beliefs. Like she always does, she spoke about kindness and said that she chooses to be kind to everyone. But Mark didn't agree with that and let his feelings out in a tweet. He wrote, "Sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness." Clearly, he does not agree with Ellen's decision on who she chooses to have in her friend circle. Rolling into number 7 is Kelly Ripa. She was one half of the morning show's favorite couples. Her and Michael Strahm were co-hosting Live with Kelly and Michael from 2012 to 2016. But then Michael suddenly announced that he was leaving the show to join ABC's Good Morning America, and his relationship with Kelly began to crumble. Most hosts decided to remain neutral on the conflict, but Ellen invited him on her show, which hurt Kelly's feelings. Source said that Kelly was livid and said, I quote, "Cozying up with Michael was like telling the world she had taken his side and she was taunting Kelly." People had different opinions on the situation though. Some believe that Ellen's decision wasn't intentional, while others thought that she knew what kind of outcome would come from it. Moving on to number 6 is Kathy Griffin. Alright, so they've had drama for a while now apparently. It's been an ongoing feud and it all comes down to whose side of the story you will believe. In 2016, she published a tell-all book called Kathy Griffin Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index. In the book, she dished out dirt on about more than 100 celebrities, and Ellen was one of them. She wrote, "I'm almost positive a certain beloved daytime talk show host once had me kicked out of a backstage dressing room at the Emmy Awards. I can't prove it, but this person, who has short blonde hair, has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." But Ellen denies the story and says that Kathy is the mean one. Rumors were claiming that Ellen banned her from her show, but Ellen spoke about it during the interview and said, "I didn't ban her from the show, because first you have to be on the show to be banned." Shots fired. Ellen is sassy. Halfway into our list, number 5 is Caitlyn Jenner. Back in 2015, Caitlyn went on Ellen's show and made a shocking confession, or so it seemed. During her interview, Ellen asked her what her stance was on same-sex marriage, and she said that there was a time that she did not support it. Ellen fired back at her immediately and made it seem like she wasn't supportive of the LGBTQ community. And then, after the interview, Ellen took shots at Caitlyn while talking on the Howard Stern show. She said she was unfairly passing judgment about gay people and marriage. But it turns out that that wasn't the case, and Caitlyn was not happy that she was trying to paint her in that light. Caitlyn opened up about the full story and said that she had actually talked to Ellen on the phone prior to taping the interview and convinced her to discuss her shifting stance on marriage equality. But then Ellen kind of flipped the switch on her during the interview and made it sound like she was against it. That all does seem pretty sketchy. And at number 4 is Joan Rivers. The icon has passed away and is not able to speak on her side of the story anymore, but Kathy Griffin chose to tell it, which is also one of the reasons that her and Ellen still aren't very friendly with each other. Kathy opened up to Variety and said, "One of the things that really hurt Joan, and we talked about it at our last meal together, was that Ellen always shunned her and Ellen thought she was vulgar and not funny." Apparently, despite all of their drama, Kathy still reached out to Ellen to check if she was going to do a tribute for Joan after she died in 2014, but claims said that Ellen did not want to. Kathy finished her story by saying that she wished Ellen would have celebrated her more because she has such an incredible platform, and Joan was the one who broke the glass ceiling for women talk show hosts. So she should have gave like a really nice tribute to her, is what most people believe. Coming into number 3 is NikkieTutorials. The YouTuber went on Ellen's show for an interview earlier this year and was quick to go on the internet and start sharing how bad her experience was. Like Ellen, Nikkie's also a big influence in the LGBTQ community after coming out as transgender on her channel. Before her interview, she gushed online about how excited she was to go on the show because she was a big fan of hers. But after the airing, she said that Ellen didn't even say hi to her before going on stage and said that the whole experience just felt very cold and distant. She also admitted that she didn't even have a place to go to the bathroom, claiming that the closest bathroom to her was reserved for the Jonas Brothers and that she was not allowed to use it. I feel like that's kind of illegal. Where was she going to the bathroom then? Swiping the number 2 spot is Susan Sarandon. She too did not agree with Ellen's speech about being friends with George W. Bush. When Ellen spoke about the controversy on her show, she said, "I have friends who don't think the same things that I do. When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people who think the same way you do. I mean be kind to everyone." Susan tweeted a response and posted a quote from Out magazine saying, "But missing the point entirely, DeGeneres framed the issues as simply a matter of her hanging out with someone with different opinions, not a man repeatedly accused of being a war criminal." Clearly, I just think that everyone's gonna have their own opinion on that situation. If Ellen can pick and choose if she's friends with George Bush or if she's not. Yeah, I feel like that everyone's gonna have a different opinion on that. And I'm gonna keep mine to myself. And the number 1 spot is Kevin T. Porter. You know things are bad when a comedian offers donations online in exchange for stories about Ellen being one of the meanest people alive. His words, not mine. That is right. Kevin tweeted out that he would donate to Los Angeles Regional Food Bank if people would share a story when Ellen was mean to them. He quickly got over 2,000 replies with people sharing stories of her being rude. He was wanting to show everyone that Ellen is not what she appears to be and thought if people could see all of these stories at once, it would help shed some light on that. He was exchanging $2 for every story, but then it got hard to tell which stories were real or not, so he just donated $600 and then attached the screenshot of his receipt. So he actually did donate the money. However, I feel like you are going above and beyond to try and expose someone for being mean. And isn't that kind of mean?
In at number 10, Blake Shelton. Ellen is notorious for meddling in the relationships of celebrities. She's always prying for more personal details and desperately trying to convince her guests that they need to get married. She bought Jennifer Lopez a clock with her and A-Rod kissing on it, and shortly after the pair got married. So when Blake Shelton came on the show, she tried to do the same thing. However, unbeknownst to Ellen, Blake never actually received the clock at the end of the show. So when he came back on the show and Ellen asked him again if he had plans to marry Gwen Stefani, he kinda let her have it. I love that he called her out on using the clock as a prop to harass her other guests to get married. Oh Ellen, when will you learn? In at number 9, Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake is a pretty regular guest on Ellen's show. The pair have become close friends over the years, but that won't stop Justin from insulting Ellen on her own show. It was more of a lighthearted jab, but a jab nonetheless. Yes. While on the show to chat about the movie Trolls, his son, and his upcoming album, he also wanted to set the record straight about a line from his popular summer hit, Can't Stop the Feeling. A lot of people might be getting wrong. While telling a story about how Ellen had sent him an alcohol-infused sing-along version of his song, Timberlake revealed that she repeatedly sang the line, just electric, just electric, just electric, and then he stated that it clearly said, just imagine. Ellen seemed really embarrassed by this and even turned to her audience for support. When no one sided with her version of the song, Justin added insult to injury by pointing out that no one even raised their hand to stand with her on this one. And he wrote the song, so I think he knows. In at number 8, Sean Hayes. Right at the top of the episode, Will and Grace star Sean Hayes wasted no time insulting Ellen. In what is referred to now as the Battle of the Gays by Ellen herself, Sean repeatedly calls her Helen from the moment the episode starts, which clearly starts to bother her as it totally botches the opening dialogue for the episode. From there, it just gets worse. He then tosses his ring into the mug on the table as a joke because Ellen complained that it had hurt her knee when he tapped it. Sean then proceeds to pluck the ring out of his drink and flick the excess liquids all over Ellen. Ellen then tried to transition the conversation by talking about how long Will and Grace had been on the air, and Sean then takes another jab at Ellen by saying that it's been running longer than her own show. In at number 7, Giada De Laurentiis. This 2017 cooking segment is now a viral disaster for all to watch online. It was pretty much a disaster right from the jump, and having Nicole Kidman on as a guest didn't exactly help. Giada was teaching both Nicole and Ellen how to make some of her favorite celebrity chef recipes. At least that was the intended plan. Instead, Giada made sexual innuendos about rice balls, insinuating that Ellen's never handled anything like that, which even slightly insulted Nicole Kidman, who reminded Giada that this is a family show. However, Giada doesn't stop with the insults. From there, she quickly pivoted to insulting Ellen's lack of culinary skills, even saying that her rice balls looked like dog food. After those few insults, Ellen basically bailed on the whole segment. She started eating the food on the table and overall just roasting how bad it was, with Nicole Kidman joining in. In at number 6, Jennifer Lawrence. Ellen was put in an awkward situation during her interview with Jennifer Lawrence in 2012. What began as Ellen asking Jennifer about her new cat quickly spiraled into transgender jokes that Ellen didn't exactly know how to deal with. Lawrence explains that she always imagined cats as being female and dogs as being male, so when she bought her female cat and it began acting like a boy, she renamed it to Chaz Bono. For those of you who completely missed that jab, Chaz is the transgender son of Cher and the late Sonny Bono. What followed next was just bizarre. They had a slideshow of the cat going that was supposed to, I guess, line up with their story, but that curveball joke really put Ellen in a weird spot, and the audience had to just sit there and watch her tiptoe around it into a new topic. In at number 5, Katy Perry. This is another one of those moments where you kind of start to question Ellen's ability to remember things, because this was a huge thing. Ellen completely blanked on Katy Perry and Russell Brand's marriage. Yikes, I can't believe that she had to lean in to remind Ellen that she was married to Russell Brand. I mean, I really hope that it was all just a joke, because if not, man, that was embarrassing. Following that, Ellen insisted that Katy wasn't married until Katy reminds her that she gave them a wedding gift. In at number 4, Wendy Williams. Both Wendy and Ellen host daytime talk shows, so it's natural that there would be some sort of tension between them. Although Wendy Williams is typically the first to throw some shade Ellen's way and has done so a few times. One of the more awkward times she tried to insult Ellen was when Williams plugged her PETA ad by acknowledging that Ellen was vegan. Then she asked her, "How do you live without bacon?" which forced DeGeneres to reply that she thinks pigs are smart. Her next Ellen insult was a bit more on the nose though. When she came back on the show, they played a game of heads up and Williams got to insult Ellen one last time. In at number 3, Billie Eilish. When compilations of Billie's Tourette syndrome acting up during live performances started popping up, the artist was forced to address it. She did so through her Instagram stories by posting a series of photos with text explaining her condition. In the note to her fans, she said, "I have diagnosed Tourette's. I've never mentioned it on the internet because nobody thinks I'm serious." So when she went on Ellen, you knew the topic was going to come up, and Ellen did try to applaud Billie for speaking openly, but Eilish sort of insulted her back. That's a subtle jab, but a really important one to note. Ellen loves being the host that either broke a new story or got a celebrity couple engaged. It makes for really great TV and it brings in better ratings. Although by Billie saying that the last thing she wanted was to be pigeonholed as the singer from Ellen with Tourette's, you could tell it bothered Ellen just a tad. In at number 2, Caitlyn Jenner. The conversation began very lighthearted between newly transitioned Caitlyn Jenner and Ellen. She praised Jenner for her work in the transgender movement and her importance in that role, but when she tried to make Caitlyn explain her previous views on gay marriage, things got a little tense. At least Caitlyn stood up for herself and explained that her opinion has changed changed over time. I mean, she literally changed her entire identity, and Ellen was still asking if her opinions were the same? Clearly, Jenner's views and opinions have changed slightly, but she noted that because she's a traditionalist, she still can understand why people don't want gay marriage. I'm not saying that she's right, by the way, I'm simply pointing out a moment where a celebrity insulted Ellen on her home turf. Last but certainly not least, on our #1 spot, Dakota Johnson. I don't care what anyone says, Dakota Johnson's appearance on Ellen's show will go down in history as the best dig on Ellen ever. It really opened up everyone's eyes as to how little she cares about her own guests or the show itself anymore. If you don't know what happened, the last time that Dakota Johnson was on the show, Ellen reamed her out for not getting a birthday invitation. So when the following birthday rolled around, Dakota made sure to invite Ellen, although Ellen missed the party and then had the audacity to ask her why she never received an invite, thus leading to Dakota calling Ellen out in front of everyone for, well, lying.
Starting us off at number 10 is Elton John. It's been more than 20 years since Ellen first came out as a lesbian, but she still holds on to that moment and opened up about a shocking story. During the period that followed her shocking news, she received a ton of backlash for it, and one person who had a lot to say about it was Elton John. When he did an interview and they asked him about his thoughts on the news, he said, I quote, "Shut up already, we know you're gay, be funny." Elton too is gay and admits that everyone at that time was talking about it and he was just getting kind of sick of it. He wanted her to focus on her role as a comedian and less about her sexuality. It was still a little harsh. I mean, we gotta be honest. I feel like there's a better way of saying that. They seem to work through their issues now, but there was a time when tensions were very high. Up next, number 9 is Wendy Williams. Their issues with each other seem a little petty and has always remained in their professional lives, not so much in their personal. Even though Wendy has been on Ellen's show a few times, Wendy's never invited Ellen on hers. Wendy's often blamed for using harsh words and expressions on her show against Portia de Rossi, who happens to be Ellen's wife. Even when Portia first came out, reports say that Wendy approached her on the red carpet and asked her to comment on the recent story going around that she was getting close with a woman in a jacuzzi. Portia was not open about her relationship with Ellen during that time, and apparently Wendy knew about that. So since then, the two of them have taken shots at each other during interviews. Sometimes it seems like a joke, while other times it's kind of hard to tell and it just leaves like this awkward tension. Kind of like the time when Wendy told Ellen that people think that she looks like Justin Bieber. She's not wrong. That meme does go around the internet, but still a little awkward. Rolling into number 8 is Piers Morgan. Ellen swears that she was just being funny when she tweeted out a birthday message for Katy saying, "Happy birthday, Katy. It's time to bring out the big balloons." But it was followed by an image of Ellen gawking and staring directly at Katy's breasts. Fans were not impressed with the tweet and said that it was a double standard, which then sparked double standard to start trending as a hashtag on Twitter. Even fellow celebrities joined in to use the hashtag, and Piers Morgan was one of them. He was furious with her so-called joke and tweeted out, "If a man made this joke, Ellen would lead the cries of sexist pig." He was very passionate about this. I can feel his anger with that tweet, but you know what? I understand. I totally get where this whole double standard thing is coming from. Sliding to number 7 is Kim Burrell. People actually had Ellen's side on this one because Kim made a statement that was super offensive to the LGBTQ community. During a sermon at her church in Houston, Texas, she referred to homosexuality as the perverted homosexual spirit. After the video footage went viral online, Ellen banned her from coming to the show. She was actually supposed to sing on her show alongside Pharrell Williams later that week, but Ellen tweeted, "For those asking, Kim Burrell will not be appearing on my show." Kim posted a response video and said she makes no excuses or apologies for her comments and said that she was simply saying that homosexuality is a sin in her religion. She said she does not hate people of the LGBTQ, but said that it goes against the nature of God, which she obviously is very passionate about. Moving on to number 6, we have Giada De Laurentiis. Now, it could be Giada because it's very Italian, so I'm probably butchering it. For years, she has been sharing her cooking secrets on the Food Network, and if you've watched her show, then you know that she always pronounces different Italian food with an Italian accent. But she did a cooking segment on Ellen's show where she whipped up some pasta for her, and Ellen started poking fun at her for her pronunciation. Giada was not having it, so she gave Ellen a tutorial on how to properly say penne and spaghetti. She should probably give me that tutorial because I'm sure it sounds very different. This isn't the first time that there's been this like awkward tension between them. She actually went on her show in 2017 where she made food for Ellen and Nicole Kidman, and they both kind of made these negative comments and jokes about her so-called bad cooking. And when you do that as your profession, it's definitely insulting. You never insult the chef on live television. Have I doing number 5 is Sherri Shepherd. She has a personal issue with Ellen because she was banned from her show due to her evolving stance on gay marriage. Keep in mind the word evolving. The comedian appeared on the first season of Ellen but was banned after she made comments on The View saying that she was once against gay marriage. Sherri had nothing bad to say about Ellen, but she's very hurt with her decision to not invite her back on the show. She said, "The views and thoughts that I had evolved from the statements I had on The View over 10 years ago, and I now support same-sex marriage and partnerships." People were quick to call Ellen a hypocrite for always claiming that she can be friends with people who share different views than her. Coming in hot number 4 is Benjamin Simon. The famous TV writer made bold claims on Twitter saying that Ellen is not very nice to her coworkers and employees. He exposed different stories from her show and said that, I quote, "She has a sensitive nose, so everyone must chew gum from a bowl outside of her office before talking to her. And if she thinks you smell that day, you have to go home and shower." Quite the accusation, right? That was just one example. He actually tweeted out 5 more after that. For the sake of this video, I will not read out all 6 of them, but even the first one is enough to know that he does not think too highly of her, especially if he is willing to expose her like that, or try to expose her like that, if it's true or not. All right, guys, we made to number 3, and we have Jameela Jamil. The actress got into messy Twitter drama involving Ellen back in 2019 after Ellen was seen buddying up with George Bush at a Dallas Cowboys game. At first, Jameela applauded Ellen for her speech on accepting everyone despite their beliefs, and said that she was actually impressed with how she handled it. But then she took all of her tweets back after learning more about the former president and tweeted out, "What a monstrous leader. I now understand the rage." So she was once backing up Ellen's decision to be friends with him, but then she was quick to join the rest of the world who was furious about it. In spot number 2 is Liza Minnelli. Back in 2014, Ellen was the host of the Oscar Awards, and during her opening monologue, she cracked jokes about Liza, who did not find it all that funny. In her speech, she said, "Hello to the best Liza Minnelli impersonator I've ever seen." And then, as the cameras panned over to Liza, who was in the audience, Ellen said, "Good job, sir." Of course, Liza would be upset by that. She later told TMZ, "I think Ellen thought it would be funny, but she never stopped after she said it and said, 'My friend, Liza Minnelli.' I think it went a little astray on her." She didn't have any rude comments to say about Ellen and said that she always thought Ellen was wonderful, but the joke was a little too far. That is how you ruin friendships, Ellen. Winning first place on our list is Eric Trump. I thought that putting Donald Trump at number 1 would be too obvious because it is no secret that Ellen despises him and that they've been very open about their feelings towards each other. They're not friends. Turns out though, like father, like son, Eric Trump doesn't like her either. Back in 2018, he made a very unusual claim on Twitter. He shared a screenshot of his Twitter follow suggestions, which read Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, and Ellen. He hashtagged it #DeepState, which refers to this conspiracy theory that there's a secret group of people who coordinate efforts to try and delegitimize the Trump administration. Ellen banned him from coming to her show, not that he would be invited, and did what she does best in response to all of it. She made jokes about it.
At number 10, Kathy Griffin. Of all the celebrities out there who has something against Ellen, comedian Kathy Griffin is one with the biggest grudge. Kathy has been feuding with Ellen for years, and she's been outspoken about Ellen's mean Hollywood streak for a long time as well. In her book, Kathy Griffin's Celebrity Run-Ins, My A to Z Index, Kathy actually wrote in her book that Ellen is mean. She dished about some of her awful run-ins that she's had with Ellen, detailing how it's believed that a certain daytime talk show host has gotten Kathy kicked out of her backstage dressing room at the Emmys. In her book, she wrote, quote, "I can't prove it, but this person who has short blonde hair has a mean streak that all of Hollywood knows about." Even though she didn't mention her by name, I'm pretty sure we can put the pieces together and figure out who that is. Kathy has also said that Ellen has badmouthed her in a monologue on her show when Kathy was there for a guest appearance, and they had some beef because of Ellen's grievances with the late Joan Rivers, whom Kathy was quite close to. No one wanted to believe Kathy's claims that Ellen was actually mean at the time, but after her scandal started to erupt, Kathy's claims were finally acknowledged adding to her cancellation at the time. At number 9, Nikki DeJager. One of the instances that fueled the Ellen Degeneres is Over party was a testimony of sorts from YouTube beauty guru Nikki DeJager, where she talked about how she was treated when invited on the show, saying that it wasn't at all what she was expecting. Nikki spoke out about the atmosphere at the Ellen show, saying that, quote, "The friendly, welcoming atmosphere that you see when watching Ellen isn't the reality in the studio." Nikki said that she was expecting a warm welcome when arriving at the studio, but that she was instead, quote, "greeted by an angry intern who was a bit overworked," saying that she was expecting something more fun and lighthearted, but instead receiving, quote, "Teletubbies after dark." Nikki also told sources that she didn't receive the same VIP treatment as everyone else, saying that she couldn't even use the bathroom closest to her because it was reserved for the Jonas Brothers, who were also on the show that day. She also remarked that Ellen was very cold and distant when the cameras were off, making for a very different vibe on the show. Nikki's comments on her time on Ellen sent the angry mobs of the internet after the comedian, adding more to her already growing scandal. Now, before I carry on with the video, I'd like to ask you guys to consider leaving a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, because it really helps the channel out. At number 8, Brad Garrett. As people started coming forward about their horror stories in reference to Ellen and her show, comedian Brad Garrett chimed in to speak his truth about who Ellen really is behind the scenes. After Ellen issued an apology to her staff members following reports of toxic workplaces, some people weren't buying into this declaration, including Brad Garrett. In response to Ellen's apology, he tweeted out saying, quote, "Sorry, but it comes from the top at the Ellen show. No more than one were treated horribly by her. Common knowledge," end quote. Maybe he was speaking from experience having worked in the same industry as her, or because he had been a guest on her show a few times between 2004 and 2007. The fact that he called Ellen's mean streak common knowledge really didn't help her case much, because he insinuated that even though she's sending out a quick apology, that doesn't take away from the fact that so many people know her for who she truly is. His comments weren't as detrimental to her as others, but it did help solidify people's new perceptions of Ellen, keeping her cancelled status intact. At number 7, Neil Breen. When Ellen was first cancelled and people started coming forward with their experience working with or just being around Ellen, some real eye-opening stories came out, including one from an Australian radio host. Neil Breen, the host of the popular radio show 4BC Breakfast, came forward to recount his only experience with Ellen back in 2013 when he was a producer for the Australian Today Show. Neil said that the show was conducting a sit-down interview with the comedian, and he recalled receiving a long and detailed list of rules to follow, outlining how to guide the show and how to act around Ellen. He spoke out about how Ellen's team was very controlling and how they pretty much just took over the entire interview, trying to make sure that they had prepared the, quote, "proper conditions for Ellen." Neil was also told by Ellen's producer that, quote, "You don't talk to Ellen, you don't approach her, you don't look at her," end quote. That whole time, he never got a chance to talk to Ellen personally, adding that the atmosphere was very tense and that Ellen's staff, quote, "walked on eggshells the whole time." Neil's encounter backed up the stories of Ellen's employees, showing that even in the land down under, Ellen creates a toxic environment. At number 6, Mariah Carey. Following Ellen's mean streak exposure, people started looking into past interviews, and there were a lot of red flags for some. A lot of people found interviews that outlined how Ellen can often diss her guests, make snarky comments, and even go too far in some cases. One instance of Ellen going too far comes from her 2008 interview with Mariah Carey. In this televised interview, Ellen tried to get Mariah to reveal that she was pregnant after there was speculation that she was. Mariah didn't really want to reveal anything prematurely, which is completely understandable. A lot of people wish to keep their pregnancy private during the first trimester because unfortunately the risk of miscarriage is higher at this time. Though Mariah refused to say anything, Ellen kept berating her to the point where she brought out 2 glasses of champagne to, quote, toast the fact that she wasn't pregnant. Mariah took a fake sip, which Ellen caught on to, and used this as proof that she was in fact pregnant. Sadly, Mariah ended up suffering a miscarriage shortly after this interview. Years later, when Ellen got canceled for her mean streak, Mariah spoke out about this interview saying, quote, "I was extremely uncomfortable with that moment is all I can say." This old interview was used as more proof to use against Ellen, and Mariah was part of the reason she's been canceled. At number 5, Dakota Johnson. In late 2019, actress Dakota Johnson sat down for an interview with Ellen, and some people see this interview as the one that started this whole Ellen is mean scandal. During the interview, Ellen berated Dakota about the fact that she wasn't invited to her birthday party. People saw this whole debate as something incredibly unnecessary, but the part that people loved the most was how Dakota shut Ellen down. When Ellen said that she was mad for not having been invited to Dakota's birthday party, Dakota, in response, said, quote, Actually, no, that's not the truth, Ellen. You were invited. No, last time I was on the show last year, you gave me a bunch of crap about not inviting you, but I didn't even know you wanted to be invited, end quote. Dakota was even backed up by one of the show's producers who reassured Ellen that she was invited and that she just didn't show up because at the time she claimed that Dakota's Malibu party was, quote, a little too far for her. Dakota shutting Ellen down and not being made to look like the bad guy Ellen intended was great for fans, and following Ellen's cancellation months later, this prompted fans to celebrate the anniversary of this interview and took the time to cancel Ellen even further. Dakota's interview really got the ball rolling on this whole scandal and continues to keep it alive for some. At number 4, Benjamin Simon. Podcaster Kevin T. Porter, who we will talk about later, sent out a tweet on March 20th, 2020, asking people to reply to him with their most insane stories about Ellen being mean. This picked up a lot of steam and prompted Benjamin Simon to come forward with 6 stories about Ellen that showed the world just how mean she really is. Benjamin spoke out about how Ellen reportedly has a sensitive nose and requires everyone to chew gum before talking to her and will order people to go home and shower if she doesn't like the way you smell. He also said that Ellen would pick on a different employee every day and that when she's in a bad mood, she gets staff members to come into her office and do bits for her to cheer her up. Benjamin also said that if Ellen doesn't like the monologue that someone wrote for her that day, she'll throw it on the floor, refusing to do it. These stories that Benjamin shared were eye-opening to a lot of people, and they used these stories as more fuel to cancel Ellen. At number 3, Mark Ruffalo. In 2019, Ellen made a number of people mad because she was seen hanging out with former POTUS George W. Bush. The backlash got so bad that it prompted Ellen to make a statement about it on her show, where she defended her friendship with Bush, saying, quote, "When I say be kind to one another, I don't mean only the people that think the same way as you do. I mean be kind to everyone." A lot of people were mad about Ellen's defense because they believed it, quote, minimized the severity of Bush's actions as president, which included starting the Iraq War and fiercely opposing gay rights. One celebrity who was very opposed to Ellen's friendship was actor Mark Ruffalo, and he had some words for her. In response to Ellen, he tweeted, quote, "Sorry, until George W. Bush is brought to justice for the crimes of the Iraq War, including American-led torture, Iraqi deaths and displacement, and the deep scars, emotional and otherwise, inflicted on our military that served his folly, we can't even begin to talk about kindness," end quote. Though this took place in 2019, people still use Ellen's friendship with Bush to further cancel her, saying that the company she keeps also makes her a mean person. At number 2, Tony Okumbawa. When Ellen was facing the wrath of the internet in response to her toxic workplace allegations, some celebrities came to her defense, but others didn't. One person in particular who chose to speak out against Ellen was DJ Tony Okumbawa. Tony worked on The Ellen Show for many years, being the show's first DJ and having been a part of the team from 2003 to 2013. He had experience being on the inside, if you will, so when he came out to back up these toxic workplace claims, people were quick to believe him. When asked about his time on the show and his perspective of the workplace, he said, quote, "I was on air talent from 2003 to 2006 and from 2007 to 2013. While I'm grateful for the opportunity it afforded me, I did experience and feel the toxicity of the environment," end quote. He also expressed solidarity for the other staff members and demanded change when he said, quote, "I stand with my former colleagues in their quest to create a healthier and more inclusive workplace as the show moves forward." Because he claimed to have felt the effects of this toxic environment, it showed people that this had been going on for a long time because of how long Tony was part of the team. This wasn't anything new, people just didn't talk about it until now. And finally, at number 1, Kevin T. Porter. As I mentioned earlier, Kevin T. Porter sent out a tweet at the height of Ellen's cancellation asking for people to share their horror stories about the comedian and said that he would make a $2 donation to a food bank for every insane story he received. Because of him and his tweets, a lot of people came forward talking about their bad experiences with Ellen, and this really added most of the heat to Ellen's ever-growing fire. Because of the amount of people who tweeted in response to this prompt, it caused this scandal to grow bigger and bigger, painting Ellen to look more and more like a villain. Kevin's tweet received 2,800 replies, along with over 17,000 retweets and over 70,000 likes. This thing blew up and made the scandal erupt to become even bigger than anyone thought it would. The repercussions have been severe to say the least, as Ellen's career hasn't been the same since, so I believe that we have Kevin to thank for this scandal becoming as big as it did.